My name is Julia Lamb. I'm 25 years old and live in Chilliwack, British Columbia. At 16 months of age, I was diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy. At the time, my parents did not know this disease existed, much less how it would affect my life. They learned very quickly that I would never be able to walk. At the age of 6, I got my first wheelchair. It apparently took me half an hour to master driving before I was asking everyone to a race. I was a happy child, my parents calling me a social butterfly. I feel grateful to have grown up with such love and support from my parents, brother, and friends. In spite of my disease, I had a full childhood. My family went on many adventures, including river rafting, camping, and trips around the country. I was always told growing up to never let any obstacles deter me or hold me back from what I wanted in life. I took that message to heart and lived by it. These days, I continue to let nothing hold me back. I work part-time as a marketing assistant for a local clothing company. Expressing my creativity, whether through work, writing, or other ways, has always meant a great deal to me. I grew up learning to write poetry, stories, and embroidery from my grandma, and in high school, spending many days working away on numerous sewing projects. To create is my passion in life, whether it is a piece of writing, a piece of art, or creating change. My family instilled in me a sense of compassion and action to make things better. I have been a member of many organizations that support spinal muscular atrophy, progressive neuromuscular diseases as a whole, as well as those that support women. This is where I currently find myself, volunteering at a local women's society once a week. As I look back at all I was and am able to accomplish, I feel a strong sense to continue to forge ahead. In doing so, I can't ignore the reality of the progression of my disease. Day to day, my most basic tasks are a challenge. I need help with everything from bathing to rolling over in bed when I feel uncomfortable. I depend on the assistance of carriage to support me in getting through my day. My ligaments and tendons have contracted over time, which limits my mobility and causes me pain. My range of motion is progressively diminishing, including my fine motor skills. As a millennial, you can imagine how vital being able to use technology to communicate via social media and technology is. My breathing will worsen, the respiratory muscles being affected by my disease. The smallest cold can turn into pneumonia, which without quick intervention could result in me being left in a state of intolerable suffering. My biggest fear is that if my condition suddenly gets much worse, which could happen any day, I will become trapped. I feel a shadow looming over me. I know I could lose the ability to breathe well enough on my own and require a ventilator, which could affect my ability to speak. I could lose the remaining function in my hands and arms, which would lead to the inability to use my computer, write, and feed myself. If I reach a point where I require constant care, I will lose my independence and freedom. I am terrified by the idea that I could become trapped in a state of physical and mental suffering that could last for months, years, or even decades. Having to think about this future causes me immense distress. Watching the Carter decision unfold, I began to have hope for Canadians' right to assisted dying. However, seeing what became of my rights under Bill C-14, it was immediately taken away from me. No longer do I have the peace of mind knowing I have a choice. If my symptoms develop in a way that cause me misery, but I remain far from death, the government's new law will force me to suffer. I, along with many other Canadians, am completely left out. I don't think it's out of reach for the government to craft a bill that respects the rights of both terminal and non-terminal patients. This is about agency, choice, and compassion. This is about the most fundamental values that define being Canadian, respecting each other's choices, even when those choices are different from one another. What I am asking for is essential to my well-being and autonomy. I am forced to suffer with this disease without a choice, a disease that inherently limits my opportunities for choice. If my suffering becomes intolerable, I would like to be able to make a final choice about how much suffering to endure.